Why? After my last review of The Phantom Menace, I watched Attack of the Clones the next day. That was, 5 days ago now? I have been procrastinating on this review. I don't want to do it. This movie sucks. So I guess I'll start out with the main drawbacks this movie has. And a lot of them, I believe, are caused by the pacing and Episode 1. See, the issue is Episode 1 wasn't bad, it wasn't boring, it was interesting, but it didn't do what it needed to do to set up Episodes 2 and 3 to be successful. Like I said in my last review, Anakin needed to be older in Episode 1. Had they done that, they could have developed the brotherhood between Anakin and Obi-Wan and the romance between Padme and Anakin in the first movie, and they would not have been forced to choose between developing the relationship between Obi-Wan and Anakin and Padme and Anakin in this movie. In this movie, one of the big flaws most people state is that the romance is very unbelievable and just not that good. I thought it was okay. It's a little bit awkward, which, Anakin's at that age where kind of awkward romances are kind of common. But the big issue with the romance is that it's boring. Like much of the rest of the movie, until the Battle on Geonosis, the movie is extremely boring and you just lose interest. And the most boring thing is the relationship between Padme and Anakin. Had they made that more interesting, this movie would have been okay. The other big gripe I have is that Obi-Wan is an absolute dick in this movie to Anakin. And there's two ways to view this. You're disappointed because Anakin and Obi-Wan's relationship doesn't mean that much come Episode 3 when Anakin turns to the dark side, so it's not as impactful. Or you can look at it as George Lucas was trying to set up Anakin's fall to the dark side by developing his connection with Padme, and at the same time making Obi-Wan look like a dick so that the Jedi are even more unappealing and Obi-Wan is not able to stop Anakin from turning to the dark side. And I believe that is why the movie seems so slow-paced and boring, is because you don't have Anakin and Obi-Wan together developing their relationship. This movie could have been fixed if you had Anakin, Padme, Obi-Wan, and the Chancellor all together and you could develop all those relationships at once. The other issue with Anakin is that he's so cocky he just becomes an asshole. He should have had more charisma, kind of like that Han Solo type character. He could have been more charming, and that would have made you more invested in his character and his connections with the other characters in the movie. And why the hell did they bring Jar Jar back? Like, he was so hated in the first movie, yet George Lucas thinks it's a good idea to bring him back and make him kind of a pivotal character, so to speak. What I found really interesting is when Obi-Wan goes to meet Dex at his diner, Dex is a really charismatic character. He would have been a great kind of Chewie-like character that could have been there with the group, Palpatine, Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Padme throughout this movie. The concept of him was great, and I wish we could have seen more of him. It would have been awesome. The one last major gripe I have with this movie is that Anakin and Palpatine did not have enough time together to establish a connection between them that would make it believable that Anakin has some sort of trust in him. We're told that Anakin has trust in him, but we never see it. We're also kind of told about Anakin and Obi-Wan's relationship and that they're close to each other, but we never see it. Obi-Wan is such a dick to Anakin in this movie that Anakin is willing to stay on Tatooine and let Obi-Wan die on Geonosis. And he's complaining about Obi-Wan holding him back and stuff when he's talking to Padme on Coruscant. It's just so disappointing to see how these relationships were handled, and then go watch the Clone Wars TV show and see that the relationships were handled so much better there, but not on the big screen. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the rest of the movie, and there's a few things that I didn't like, but it's mainly going to be what I liked. I really liked that Obi-Wan was painted as such a badass in this movie, like when he jumps out the window to catch the little drone that dropped off the bugs. Oh, one more gripe. Padme is dumb as shit for leaving Jar Jar in charge of her responsibilities as a senator. Just stupid. I mean, he has a proven track record of being a moron. One thing in this movie that I really love is the clones. The clones are awesome, but the thing that I found kind of weird is that they only had 2,000 units produced and 1 million more well on the way. For a galaxy-wide war, that just doesn't compute to me. I believe the end duel was kind of lame, boring, and disappointing, but the fight between Obi-Wan and Jango Fett was awesome, and I wish we could have gotten more action like that throughout the movie. I also wish we could have seen more of the relationship between Boba Fett and Jango Fett, because Boba Fett is such a cool character in the original trilogy, and it's kind of well known that it was disappointing how he died. It would have been awesome to see more of him in the prequel trilogy. What's really weird though is that they make his dad such an awesome character, yet he dies in such a lame way too. It's just making the same mistake again. I found it interesting when Anakin got to Tatooine that the Lars were such dicks to him, yet they were willing to take in Luke just out of the blue. It was so just weird. The speeder bike scene on Tatooine was awesome too. That was really powerful and emotional, especially with the music and the visuals that were playing. And then we get to the arena on Geonosis, and once again Obi-Wan's just a dick to Anakin, and the romance kind of comes to a head other than the marriage at the end of the movie. It does show that the Jedi are badasses in their fight with the droids, but clearly the clones are way cooler. I think, at least in my opinion, I was a kid when I watched this, and I absolutely loved the clones. So much so that when I was in preschool, I took some construction paper and made an entire clone suit out of it, a helmet and everything. Looking back, it was really lame and stupid, but it's still awesome. The one thing that really sucks about the end battle is that it doesn't really mean anything to you because the rest of the movie didn't emotionally draw you into the conflicts and characters. Well, that's it. I guess this review didn't take as long as I thought it was going to, and I'm really glad for that because I don't know how much more I could talk about this movie. It may be a little while before I come out with my Revenge of the Sith review, because after watching this movie I'm not really on that Star Wars train right now. You know, maybe I'll play some Battlefront and stuff and get back on there and get a kick to watch the movie. But I'm sure I'll probably have the review out before the Clone Wars TV series ends on Disney+, because I gotta do a review for that too. Anyways, I would give this movie a Coco rating. Just sleep through it. There's important stuff that happens in the movie, but it is just not interesting at all. And that's all. Later.